Kable is a significant constitutional law case, but this case note is intended for introductory students and focuses just on separation of powers. Gregory Wayne Kable had separated from his wife and demanded more contact with their children. He threatened his wife with violence and stabbed her to death. He was convicted of manslaughter on the basis of his mental condition and was sentenced to a minimum of 4 years in prison. In prison, he wrote threatening letters to his victims' family who were caring for the children. The New South Wales government were concerned for their safety after Kable's release. The New South Wales Parliament passed the Community Protection Act 1994. Section 3 of the legislation said the object of this act is to protect the community by providing for the preventive detention of Gregory Wayne Kable. The act was structured in such a way that when an application was made to the court for Kable's detention, the court would really have no option but to agree to keep Kable in prison. The motive of the Parliament here was pure. They wanted to protect people who had been threatened by a wretched and violent criminal who was about to be released. At the same time, though, one of our most important principles of law is the separation of powers. Our system would fall apart if courts were not free to give impartial judgments, seeking to do even-handed justice. If a law placed a court in a situation where the judges no longer had that freedom and impartiality, then the law could not be allowed to stand, not even to keep a character like Kable in prison. Justice Toohey said, "The function exercised by the Supreme Court under the Act offends the doctrine of separation of powers, serving to protect not only the role of the independent judiciary, but also the personal interests of litigants in having those interests determined by judges independent of the legislature and the executive." The function offends that aspect because it requires the Supreme Court to participate in the making of a preventive detention order where no breach of the criminal law is alleged and where there has been no determination of guilt. I have heavily oversimplified this complicated case, but one of its key outcomes was to declare that wherever the separation of powers applies, courts must be free to make impartial decisions based on evidence.